This webinar is going to discuss using the Properties tab within Building Blocks CRE. When you click on the tab, it'll bring up our normal list of records. In this case, the records are properties. Depending on the number, I'll have pages that I can navigate manually through using the tools at the bottom. Or I can search. By clicking in the search bar, I can search for a property by address or project name, and it'll search for any of the words or letter combinations within these fields. So for example, if I type in 7789, it's going to bring up 7789 Main Street. If I search and put in Main, it'll bring up the ones that have Main Street in here. So it doesn't matter if you put in the number or the address or condos or industrial, it'll find it within the system. Let's choose a record. If I click on a record, it expands. If I click it again, it contracts. When it expands, you'll notice that the list of different information for this record becomes available in your left-hand navigation. When it contracts, that information goes away. You'll also notice that we get some general information on the property, as well as a series of buttons that allow you to perform functions for this property. If I roll my mouse over the Add button, you'll notice I have the ability to add a note, add a unit, add a picture, or add a document. The Edit button allows you to edit the general information on this property. The Delete button will delete this record, but be careful because you not only delete the property information, but you'll also delete any notes, documents, or units attached to this property as well. The More button will take you to a detailed information on this property. So let's look at the overview. We're going to use Pine Avenue for this one. So if I come over to the overview, it'll give me a basic information on the property, your basic property information, your units and tenants and vacancies. It'll show you who the owners of the property are and who the vendors are. Clicking the More button will take you to detailed information for each of these sections. The next section is Property Details. Property Details allows you to look at basic property information. In this case, it would be general information on the property, not specific to a property type. If I click the detailed information, this is going to bring me to a screen. In this case, it's an office building, so it would be office. But if this was an industrial building, it would bring me to an industrial layout, or a land parcel would bring me to a land layout, multifamily to multifamily, and retail to retail. This information can always be edited, and it's as simple as clicking the Edit button, choosing what you want to change. Let's say that utilities are not included, and hit Save. And now this information has been updated. The public record information is a place to store historic public record data. And again, editing is simple as clicking the Edit button. Let's now look at the Units and Tenants section for this property. If I take my mouse and put it over the Units and Tenants tab, and then choose List View, it'll give me a list of all the units within this property. It'll show me what the unit number is, what their status is. Are they leased? Are they available? What type of unit it is. And this is great for mixed-use projects because you can not only, in this case as an office building, create office units, but you could create retail, industrial. You could even have a land parcel behind the building. So it allows you an extreme amount of flexibility in determining what type of unit is within a building. It'll show you what the size of the unit is, what the rent is if there's a tenant, and who the tenant is within the building. It's important to know that within Building Blocks, you can only attach a tenant to a unit. You cannot attach it to a building, which means when you have a single tenant building where you really don't have a unit, you just got a building, you still, within Building Blocks, need to create a unit. What we typically do would create a unit, and we call it building. We don't put a unit number in, we just put building. And then you put all the information for the building into the unit so that the unit equals the building in terms of size and that information. And then you can attach a tenant to it. Let's select a unit. When I click on the unit, it expands and it gives me some basic information on the unit. It gives me basic information on the tenant as well. And if there's a lease in place, some basic information on the lease. I have the ability to add a document. This is really cool because I could add a lease or certificate of insurance or any other document related to this unit or this tenant. I can edit the information on this unit and tenant, or I could delete this unit, which would delete all the information and documents contained within it. The More button will take me to a detailed view, which is the same as clicking Unit Details on the left-hand navigation. Let's click More. So here in the Unit Details, we see some basic information on the unit and the status and the lease. And the next section will show me the industrial unit specific details. Again, if this was an office unit, like the next record, it would show me an office layout. Same thing for retail and land, etc. After the basic unit physical specs, we come into the lease data, and this will show you who the tenant is and the basic specifications of the lease. If this was a condo sale or a parcel or a purchase of a parcel within a larger property, I could put the purchase data and purchase information in here as well. And this will also show me who the listing agent is, the procuring agent, and if there's a property manager as well. I can take notes and add them for this unit, and I have the ability to add a document to this unit. We'll talk about the documents a little bit later. Let's look at the next section, investment sale. You get to it by clicking investment sale on the tab on the side. We're going to come into the overview, which is going to give you a basic overview of the property from an investment sale perspective. This section is designed when you have a property that you're prepping to sell as an investment. You can enter the information and it'll generate all the ratios and the basic information that you need to market this as an investment property. When you enter the information and have it set up in this section, you can automatically generate a listing brochure from the listings tab, which will bring in this information into the listings brochure. You can look at it from the actual and a pro forma standpoint and set up each one. It'll give you your basic ratios, and you can set some sensitivity analysis for the sales price, the LTV, the loan amounts, etc., etc. To set up the income and expenses on the actual or the pro forma, you're going to come over here to the income and expenses, or the view more, they do the same thing, or the pro forma, or the more tab, which does the same thing as well. When we click the view more tab, it takes us into the actual income and expenses for this property. At this point, you can load in the income and load in the expenses for this property. You also have the ability to set the vacancy allowance, and there's a calculator here for calculating leasing, maintenance, janitorial, and management expense on an annual basis. For example, on maintenance expense, let's put in 1.5%, and it will give us the estimated annual cost for the maintenance expense, which I can then add back in. There are two ways to add income or expense line items in the system. If you have a new property where you don't have any data in it yet, the easiest way is the load template. When you click the load template, it gives you the option of adding the income template or expense template. All this is, it'll basically load a preset list of items into the system. The preset list can be set from settings. We have a default, but you're welcome to modify it based on what your needs are. The other item is individual, and you can click on this, and it'll pop up an income source, and you can add a monthly or annual number. So let's add an income source. So let's say we're going to add billboard revenue. And it's going to be, let's say we're generating $5,000 a month from billboard revenue. It'll automatically generate the annual number, or if I put in an annual number, it'll automatically generate the monthly. I click submit, and boom, we have our billboard revenue added into our revenue totals. I can edit these fields by clicking the edit button and change these on a monthly or annual basis if I need to modify them. This also gives me the ability to modify the vacancy allowance. So for example, let's say that this building is averaging a 4% vacancy. I put in a 4, and it'll automatically include the annual deduction for vacancy. I hit save, and it's saved. Let's say the billboard revenue isn't there, I can click delete, and it gets deleted. Pro forma works the same way. We don't have any income in here, I'm not going to put it in right now, but you can generate it the same way as you would on the actual income and expenses. The rent roll, by clicking here, will give you a basic rent roll for the property. The units are brought in automatically from the units and tenants section, and you can add a new unit if you'd like as well for this property. All that information that we've entered or changed in these various sections is updated in the overview section. Let's go to the next section, linked contacts. Linked contacts will show you who the owners and vendors related to this property are. So if I click on the owners, it's going to bring me into a section that shows me who the contacts from the contacts tab are that are linked as owners to this property. If I come to vendors, it'll show me who the vendors are from the contacts that are linked to this property as well. So this is a great way to see who owns or who's servicing this property. So let's look at the last tab, property tools. When I come here, I've got the choice of taking a look at my notes, where I can review my existing notes. I could edit them, or I can create a new node and save it. I have the ability to add pictures and choose which one I want to be the default display picture, which will show up under the property list, as well as when I generate a listing brochure. I also have the ability to add documents. Documents can be seen by anyone on your team or who has access to this record. Adding a document is simple as grabbing it, dropping it in the big blue box, hitting start, and it is uploaded. I can also create a file tree in here. So let's say I've got some floor plans I wanted to add. So I click a new file, change the name to floor plans, and there it is. Floor plans. If I wanted to add a document to this subsection, I highlight the folder, and again, I drag and drop it in, hit start, and there it is. If I want to download the document, I just hit download, and it'll show up on my browser. It'll show up as a downloaded document. I click it, and it opens up. This document section is a really handy way to store and keep track of documents related to a property. And this works as well in the units, where you can add documents in the units as well. The deal section allows me to track any deals that are associated with this property. So I can look at any current deals or any past deals that I have ever done on this property. It's a great feature. You'll notice we haven't talked about the Create New button, which allows you to create a new property or a new unit, or the Link To button, which allows you to link this property throughout the system. We're not going to cover it in this webinar. It's been long enough as it is. It's in the next one. We encourage you to watch it. That being said, that concludes our overview of the features that we provide on properties within Building Blocks. We thank you for taking the time, and all of us at Building Blocks, we encourage you to contact us if you have any questions or need any help at all regarding using the properties or any other section within Building Blocks.